Hello and welcome to Dish Shelved with Adam White. This week is my entry for Rocket Summer. Um, I the first book I did was The Secret of Sinharat by Leigh Brackett, um, which it was interesting because I started reading it and I thought, well, this was from the '60s. And I know that's a little out of order for Rocket Summer should be the '40s this week, I think. But um, I got to reading it and I was like, this sounds kind of familiar. And it's the first of her Eric John Stark novels. And I thought, well, this sounds familiar, and I don't think I've read this before. And I got to reading it and reading. I was like, I've read this. And I was like, I know I've read this, and I remember things happening from it, and I remembered as I read, but I kept reading because it was a really good book. And then I look up on Wikipedia, and it turns out that her book, The Queen of the Martian Catacombs, which was originally published in 1949, was actually expanded into The Secret of Sinharat in the '60s. And I had read The Queen of the Martian Catacombs, so this actually was originally a '40s story. And that's why I'd read it before, because I hadn't read this whole thing. There was pieces in it that weren't in Queen of the Martian Catacombs because it was expanded for a book. It was a short novel. It was only like 95 pages. But I was like, that's why I've read it, because I had read that on my Kindle. And I was actually getting ready to read it next because on the Internet Science Fiction Database, it lists it as the next novel in this series. Well, it's not. It's just an expanded version of it. So that was the mystery solved on that. Uh, but so I just was like, yeah, because I kept thinking the whole time I was reading, I was like, I know I've seen this before. But I knew I'd never read The Secret of Sinharat, but it's because I'd read the 1949 version, The Queen of the Martian Catacombs. Anyway, it's a story about Eric John Stark, who is raised as kind of a savage or a barbarian, and he gets taken in by civilized people, and that's kind of his deal. He's kind of a savage dealing with the civilized world and how he fits into that, uh, world, in the world. He's on Mars in this, and uh, he takes on a mission to see what's going on between these Martian kind of barbarian tribes and what they're going to do to try to take over Mars or something like that. And I don't want to say too much about it because, like I said, it's a short novel expanded from a short story. That So I don't want to give too much away about it, but I will say the cover here is actually a scene from the beginning of the book. Um, and that's unusual because usually the covers just don't have anything to do uh, with the book itself. They just kind of do them separately. But this is actually from the first scene in the book, the very beginning of it. Um, but it's really good. It's like a science. It's part science fiction, part fantasy, part western. And I've been wanting to read more westerns ever since June on the Range. And so I kind of got my fix in with this because it was like a sci-fi western with a little bit of fantasy thrown in uh, to boot. So it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. Leigh Brackett is such a good writer. Uh, she's really one of my favorites out of older science fiction writers. And she came in. She was born in 1915, and so she kind of grew up at the dawn of science fiction as it's known today. And uh, so she really was immersed in it early on, and she wrote some hard boiled crime fiction too, but she's mostly known for her science fiction and the fact that she wrote the early draft of The Empire Strikes Back, which also explains why that movie's so good. Uh, excuse me. But it's a really good book, really entertaining, and I thought, well, I know there's more in the Eric John Stark line. I'd like to read it. Well, lucky me, this is an ace double, and The People of the Talisman was listed as the second book. Now, I find out when I look here that it was originally published in the early 50s as The Black Amazon of Mars, and which I hadn't read yet, even though I had it on my Kindle. So I I went ahead and read it too, and it was originally published in 1951, and then in the 60s it was expanded into the book form People of the Talisman. It was excellent too, and it was also about Eric John Stark. He's still on Mars, and he gets involved in a roundabout way with trying to save a city from an invasion, and he kind of falls in with the people that he's with, and there's this uh, device, well, not really a device, but kind of a crystalline thing that he gets involved in returning to this city. Excuse me. And for a dying friend, that happens right at the beginning, so I'm not giving anything away, just in the first few pages. And it's something that's supposed to save this city, and he tells his dying friend that he'll return it for him, even though he doesn't really want to. Anyway, he gets mixed up in this whole big thing, and he's a good fighter, so he ends up helping the people of this city, trying to fight off the people that are attacking it. And then towards the end, then the latter half of the novel, they find out what this device or crystal really is, and it's not at all what they thought it was. Because it was supposed to save the city, but it turns out to be a really different purpose, and it's really kind of strange. But that's what makes it interesting, and it's a lot different from the first Eric John Stark novel. I mean, the character's consistent in both, but this one has a lot more action in it. So it's more of a science fiction action story, and you get vibes of a western in it too. Really, I mean, the stranger gets involved with some bad guys that he doesn't like, and that doesn't work out, and then he rides into town on his reptilian steed, and gets involved with the town to keep the rustlers out. I mean, it's really got a real western theme to it as well, and I think that's why I liked them so well, is because you've got that little bit of western flavor in with the science fiction and the fantasy. So it's a science fantasy that's a little bit Western. So that's the same for both of them. But I highly recommend them. Like I said, when you look it up, it's going to show that uh, the Secret of Sinharat and the People of the Talisman are the two first novels in it. But they're really just expansions of those short stories. So I'd recommend reading the novel versions because they're both short novels. The Secret of Sinharat was only 95 pages, and the People of the Talisman, was only 128 pages. So I read them both in a day each. They were really good novels, such good novels with Eric John Stark. I also have a book, the Book of Scathe, and it's got 3 novels: The Ginger Star, The Hounds of Scathe, and one other story, and they're Eric John Stark novels as well. And I've got those 3 collected in one book. And so I'm going to read those too. They were published a little bit later on, I think. But so these books count for Rocket Summer for both the 40s and the 60s. Uh, so, like I said, the first one was The Secret of Sinharat, and just such fun books. Leigh Brackett is a fantastic writer. She wrote lots of stuff. I'm going to get some more of her books. I mean, I've read some other ones before. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but because I've read so much old science fiction. But like I said, when I read Secret of Sinharat, I spent the whole time thinking, man, I know I've read this, but I know I haven't read this book. But I recognize everything as I go, uh, and so I had read on my Kindle the Queen of the Martian Catacombs, which is what this book is taken from. So, um, surprise to me, but so I've actually read the original 40s story too, so that counts for the 40s. But this was originally written in 1949, but expanded to a book in 1964. And this was also written in the early 50s and was expanded into a book in 1964. So these actually cover the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So hopefully that's good enough for an entry to Rocket Summer. I really like Rocket Summer. I'm hoping maybe to get one more in. It just depends on what's going on. I've got a lot going on, but I wanted to get at least one entry, and it covers 3 of the decades in the stipulations for the kind of the rules of Rocket Summer. So, really good books. People of the Talisman, Secret of Sinharat. I bought this in a used bookstore for just a couple bucks. You should be able to get them all probably on. They're probably available as ebooks. I didn't look because I had this that had both of them in it, but like I said, the short story versions I have on Kindle. And anyway, really good books. I really recommend them. Uh, science fantasy westerns, Eric John Stark books, really good, lots of fun, great classic science fiction. Um, so I hope you'll give them a try, and I want to thank you for hanging out with me. And enjoy Rocket Summer. Thanks to Michael K. Vaughn for doing such another great event. And I will catch you guys next time.